everyone. We're a couple minutes early, so we still have time for people to join. Okay. Hopefully I didn't just destroy everyone's ears. So sorry about that. Apparently the volume on my TV is a little bit loud. So lesson learned. And I hope I didn't just lose all of you. Welcome to our second meeting. Like I said, we've got a few minutes before it's officially time to start, but I wanted to sign on and say hello and good afternoon to everybody. I hope you're all having good quarantine days today. You're probably going to see Mr. Rumpus back here in the background. And just a reminder, he is a foster dog that we are taking care of right now. And he has cancer. So he wears the collar because it keeps him from bothering his tumor where he's got cancer. So don't worry, he's fine. He's under veterinary care and being well taken care of, but it can be alarming when you see dogs with e-collars on, and I didn't want anyone to think that something was terribly wrong or that, I don't know, anything. He's doing fine. So hopefully he won't be too barky. He gets a little bit upset when he's not right next to me, but if he gets barky, I'll just hold him for a little while. So today, last meeting, I was working on this bobbin here, and I'm still working on it, but you ever get to that point where you're just sick of a particular fiber, you don't want to look at it, you don't want to think about it for a minute? I kind of reached that point with this rainbow spin, so I took it off and I'm setting it aside for a couple days, and I'm going to work on some other fiber that I bought right before we couldn't go out anymore. That is just absolutely gorgeous. It's a BFL, and it's from Fabju Fibers. Let's see, can I get that in there? It's real deep purples and blues and greens, and it's so soft, so luscious. It's 4 ounces. Oh, the name is Black Vine. So I'm really excited to spin this. I got this at a local shop called A Sheep at the Wheel, which I really like. They have a nice yarn selection, a really nice roving selection. And so I'm going to work on this today instead. What are you guys working on today? Anything special? Well, I am trying to find fun new things to do that will keep me busy while I can't leave, because I'm not used to not being able to leave the house just whenever I feel like it. I will say, though, I went out yesterday, just a drive to my husband's office to pick up something. I was staying in the car, and I was amazed how many people were out on the road. I was expecting to see tumbleweeds just blowing down the road, and nope, didn't see that. There's a fair amount of traffic. People are still moving and getting what they need done, so I guess that's good too. And yes, fostering has been very, very fun. I really enjoy doing it. It's a little bit more stressful because I get worried that I can't just call my vet. It all goes through the agency that we're fostering with. And so I think I bothered him a little bit for the first couple weeks that we had him. But now that we are all settled into a routine, it's getting better. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, because he is just the most precious dog in the world. He loves sitting next to me. He loves cuddling with me. He loves cuddling with my husband. He loves cuddling with our other dogs, which in and of itself is impressive. If you if you know our other dogs, you would understand they all have their own very special personalities sometimes. So having him in the house has been an absolute dream. So I am going to get started on my spinning. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. Before I do that, a little bit of new business. I do not sew. And for those of you that maybe just found me because we're doing the fiber group and that kind of thing, you may not be aware, I own a business where I dye yarn and roving and sell it usually at vendor events, but I also sell on Etsy. I have a shop there called Spin and Dye in Texas. And I was, prior to all of this happening, planning to expand what I sell into also doing hand-dyed cotton fabric. Now with things the way they are, I've kind of slowed down launching that. But I do have several yards of hand-dyed fabric here at my house. And I don't sew. But I know that there are a lot of people out there who do sew in addition to working with fiber and who are making face masks for first responders and people who need them. If you are one of those people and you would like a yard of fabric, maybe 2 yards, depending on how many respond, please just message me on Instagram at Spin and Dye in Texas, or you can email me. Well, let's do the message me on Instagram or drop a comment on this video and we'll connect and I'll get you a yard of fabric. No charge for it or anything like that. I'll ship it to you. All of this was washed and has been in my laundry room since before the coronavirus spread to the United States. So it's not like something that I went out and bought this week and might have a situation going on there. If you would like it, please let me know. I really wish that I sewed so I could help with that effort, and unfortunately I do not, and I don't have a sewing machine. So this is the one thing I can do, and I'm happy to provide it to anyone who is making those masks for people. And the only thing I ask if you do end up getting a yard or 2 is please just send me pictures of the masks that you make. I would love to see them. And doesn't have to be on Instagram. We'll work out something. So, okay. With that being done, I'm going to go ahead and start this spin. Now, I was thinking about it earlier today. I teach spinning at a local high school, and one of the things that has come up because of coronavirus is figuring out how to teach online and what that class is going to look like. And it got me thinking about the first class that I taught there. And one of the tips that I gave the students that I found out a lot of spinners don't yet necessarily use. So when I started spinning, one of the biggest problems I had was starting. Every video said, okay, grab your leader string and get those fibers to hold on into the end of your leader, and then it'll start to flow onto the bobbin. And I could never, ever get it to work, ever. It would get halfway to the bobbin, and then the fibers would just fly off the leader. Or it would get on the bobbin and somehow still fly off the leader, and I'd end up pulling string back out, pulling singles back out. So I started doing it where I made my leaders into a big loop, and this is just the end of it because I've already put some twist in there. And then I take my end that I'm going to start spinning with, and I pull it through the loop and wrap it around. And once I start treadling, that twist makes a nice little hook that's going to now pull on. And as long as it's thick enough, it'll keep feeding onto the bobbin without flying off and causing problems and getting frustrated before I even start. So that's just something I've seen only one video, and I wish I could remember the name of the person who did it. I know it was a little bit older, where someone did it that way, and it changed my approach to spinning because I felt much less frustrated starting, and so it made me want to keep going. So I thought I would just share that with you guys in case somebody else has that same frustration, or if you're a new spinner and you're just looking for different ways. The one thing I always tell my students is that spinning, there's a million different ways to do it, and we all have to find the way that's most comfortable for us, whether that's the weight of the yarns and singles that you spin, or if it's how you treadle, how you draft. Everyone has their own system, and as long as you're working within a good tension and a good speed, you're going to get there eventually. So that's just my thoughts on it. I absolutely love spinning this BFL. It's one of my favorite fibers. I think I talked about that on Monday. It is so soft and so, it's got a texture to it that I really like. Silk is very soft, but it's so smooth that the texture of it makes it harder to work with. My hands don't like it quite so much. It's harder to hold on to when you're spinning, that kind of thing. I love BFL because it has enough of a texture that you can spin it real thin without it just flying through your fingers as you're trying to go. I feel the same way about Merino. Rambouillet too. The longer fibers like Teeswater, I think they're just a little bit too smooth and they're just not fun for me to work with. I don't know about you guys, but feel free to drop a comment in the chat and let me know what your favorite fibers are, or if you don't spin, what projects you're working on today. I would love to hear about that. On Monday, we had a couple people who do applique that were in our chat, and it was really, really fun to just talk about how many different types of fiber projects there are out there, which I have done felting. I've done the felting on soap, spinning, weaving, crochet, tried to knit, not good at it, but I'm still trying. And now I'm working on ribbon weaving as well. And every time I think, oh, I found all the different types of projects I can do with fiber, it turns out, no, there's about 10 or 15 more. So I love hearing what you guys are working on. I love seeing what you guys are working on because I find it very inspiring for me as well. So I'm going to go through, and this particular single that I'm working on is going to be Navajo plied, which I tend to prefer when I'm not looking for a specific repeating pattern in the final yarn, because I spin thin, and if I Navajo ply, it ends up being a 3-ply yarn, and it gives it a little bit more weight and a little bit loftier. So I prefer that way, and also it means that I don't have to be quite so vigilant on making sure that my color transitions are very even. It just makes it more fun for me. Now, hopefully, I will get through this roving pretty quickly, and then I will be able to do the plying on camera as well. And I think I'll also do a separate video that's not live, just showing how I do the Navajo ply, because it's something that I think all new spinners, we tend to get a little bit intimidated when we talk about 3-ply and 4-ply yarns. And I want to show a video. There's good videos out there, of course, but I feel like they all tend to be better for people who have been spinning for a long time and don't always cater to people who spin, who have just started or just learning a technique. So that's what I'm going to try and do, in addition to hopefully doing it live with you guys as part of our group, which I'm really enjoying doing our group. So I'm so glad that we have people joining and hanging out with us today. So in addition to spinning, I mentioned that I weave, and I do enjoy weaving as well. I have a Kromsky loom, and it's 32 inches wide. So I can make really fun wall hangings. Of course, I think you can make a scarf on pretty much any size loom. And I'm working on doing throw blankets, and that'll be my next big project. But Oh, I broke it. Of course I did. But when it comes to the throws, I feel like the 32 inches is just a hair too narrow. So I'm working out how I want to deal with that, since, like I mentioned before, I do not sew. I can do the basic sewing at the ends, that kind of thing, if it's by hand, and if it uses yarn, because yarn is not as thin as thread, so I don't get as frustrated doing it. Pardon me. So in addition to my BFL fiber that I have here and the other spin that I've been working on, just so everybody knows, it's just a soda, but I like the carrier my sister made me, so I always drink it out of that. What was I saying? In case you guys can't tell, I like to talk, but sometimes I tend to ramble, and I apologize about that. Oh, talking about spinning the BFL. So I really do enjoy spinning BFL. A friend of mine and I, a couple years ago, we started doing a project together where we had both ordered a ton of different fibers from Laughing Lamb, and we each got different ones, and we each got an ounce of each and spun them. And made notes on what we liked about each fiber type and what we didn't like. It was all sheep's wool, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. And I have found that I really prefer the thinner micron, but not super, super, super thin micron size. And I found that spinning those thicker yarns, or thicker wools, like churro and I can't think of the other one that I enjoy doing. They're really fun to do. I just don't know what to do with the yarn when I'm done with it, because I don't do rug weaving. Now, do any of you guys out there do things with the coarser yarn that you find it makes it a good excuse to spin that type of yarn? Because I'm looking for, I still have a couple ounces up there of different fibers, and some of them are thicker. I'm really looking for some type of project to do where I can showcase those thicker, more coarse fibers that I don't think are going to be showcased in just a basic yarn that will end up sitting in a corner. So if you have any ideas for me, I would love, 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 love to hear them. I get this moved over. I am looking for, I don't know, all different kinds of new ideas. Being stuck at home has gotten my creativity, like, itching to be creative. And I think a lot of us are kind of going through that right now, because we realize that our life isn't necessarily spent at home. And so I'm always looking for fun stuff to do. I've done some paint pouring, which has been very fun and totally outside of my general comfort zone, which is fiber. And I went and got vases from the dollar store and poured the paint on them, which I highly recommend if you're looking for something to just zone out on after we're done with our meeting here, of course. Check out some paint pouring videos. They're mesmerizing, absolutely mesmerizing. They pour these colors on and they just swirl on the canvases or whatever item or object they're covering, and they're just so much fun to watch. So anyway, I went and got these dollar vases, and I poured over them and was able to make some really cool patterns. And then I found that on one, the paint was very thin. The final coating of paint that dried on the vase was very thin, and color came through it. So, like the light from outside. So my husband has a 3D printer, and he printed me a lampshade, and I turned the vase into a lamp that's now sitting on my table. And it's just a fun new craft that I never would have thought to do if boredom hadn't eked in and given me an excuse to do it. So I'm finding that this has been a very frustrating and very scary time, but also been very interesting creatively. I've been dyeing the fabric, which has been a very interesting new way for doing dyeing. I prefer to dye yarn, I think, and roving. It's more fun for me, and it spreads. I generally do not work with darker colors like what I have here. I like bright, I like neon, and getting to play with color and see my vision kind of pop up on the yarn. And sometimes it looks great and sometimes it looks terrible, but it's always something new. And that is very fun for me. So, let's see. So A. Carter just said, oh, for a thicker, coarser yarn, a sort of very light canvas for shade cloth. Oh, for gardening can be useful, or a lace fence. I saw someone post pictures of that. Okay, now I have something to look up as soon as I am done here, because that sounds cool, and the thicker, coarser fibers would absolutely be able to stand up to that in a way that the thinner yarns will not. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm super excited now to have yet another thing to look up online, which I'm definitely getting my money's worth out of my internet service this month, because I've spent a lot of time online looking at just anything I can find. So I am also getting ready to start doing some more videos for the YouTube channel as well, based on some of the things that I've been researching as part of being home. And A. Carter also said that she's spinning a lamb fleece that you got. Oh my gosh, did you wash the fleece also? Did you wash it yourself, or did you buy it washed? Because you said that you're carding it. I tried washing a fleece one time, and if you are washing it, I am just absolutely amazed, because I got very frustrated. Now, to be fair, my frustration came from the fact that I have a dog that has a very strong primal instinct. And when I washed the fiber in the bathtub and using laundry detergent and the lingerie bags. And so I had pressed it down, picked it up, pressed it down, doing without trying to agitate the fibers at all. I get it all done. I pull it all out. I have this big old gold of all colors curtain that I don't use anymore. And I lay it out on my back patio, and I put all the fleece down on it to let it dry. It was middle of summer, so it was well hot enough that it would have been dry in a matter of an hour and a half maybe. And I lay it all out, and of course it still smells like sheep. And my dog smells it and starts trying to go after it. And I go to push him aside, and he jumped on me, and his paw, his nails on his paw caught my hand and kind of scratched me. And it wasn't his fault. It was my fault. I didn't think about the fact that he is 100% a predator, a nice predator, a sweet, fluffy, adorable predator. But when you wave barn animals in front of him, he's not going to give up easily, and he didn't. So I will admit that might be part of the reason why I got so frustrated with cleaning a fleece. It's something I want to try again, but I don't know how people do it for 5-6 pound fleeces. I think I only got through a pound of the fleece that I had, which, if you were in the Monday meeting, that was the fleece that I bought at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival that started all of this for me. So, if you are, and even if you're not, just spinning a whole fleece is a lot of work. Well, okay, she says it's unwashed, her fleece is, and it's going through the carders and getting them pretty dirty. But that lanolin's great for your skin, though. Absolutely fantastic for it. And if you have dogs, just make sure that they're not too close, because they'll really enjoy it. Plus, spinning in the grease is supposed to be a very exciting and different, what's the word I'm looking for? Experience than spinning completely cleaned and even in some cases bleached fleece. So I'll be curious to see what it ends up looking. Now, what color is the fleece itself? Is it a white or is it more brown and black? Okay, Rumpy. I've used hand carders before, but I prefer using my drum carder. I find that it is easy to work with as long as you understand the technique for it. It took me a while, a couple bats, before I was able to realize that I was just putting too much fiber on at one time, and it was really gunking up my machine versus getting it into a nice fluffy bat. But the drum carder that I have is the Brother drum carder, and I highly recommend it. It's not super over the top expensive. I mean, it's not $10 or anything like that, but I got the small one. And the nice thing about this particular drum carder is that the teeth on it are over an inch thick. Yeah, over an inch thick. And so you end up with a very narrow bat, but it's thick. So you can still do 2 or 3 ounce bats without overloading the machine. So I do enjoy it. There's, I'm sure, better drum carders out there, but this one I like a lot, especially at the price point that it was at. And I took that to the class that I teach last semester to let them try it. And I told them, okay, guys, when you guys see me next class, I'm going to bring in something that looks like a medieval torture device. Don't worry. Everyone's safe. You're not going to get hurt. And sure enough, I walked in with this drum carder in my hands, and one of the students looked at me and he went, oh, yeah, that does look like a medieval torture device. And it really does. It really, really does. I used to work with another spinner and at just a regular job. And when I got the drum carder, she was like, oh, I need to see it. So I brought it in to show her. Maybe I just brought it in to show her. I don't know if she said she needed to see it. But anyway, I had it sitting on my desk, and I had somebody that walked up to me and was like, can you tell me what that is? Like they were nervous that it was some type of weapon. I said, oh, no, it's not a weapon. It's just what I use to card my wool and make bats. And then he got really confused because where I live, we have real flying bats. And so saying I was making them sounded really strange. There we go. So what's everyone else working on today? Are you crocheting maybe, or spinning a yarn that you've been working on for a while? A said that her fleece is a dark brown at the tips and fawn at the base, which sounds absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. But that her cat actually loves the fleece even more than the dogs do, which I can kind of see because cats seem to have a really strong primal instinct. And I think Rumpus back here or my other dog Pickles would be fine with the fleece, but Boomer, he goes after it like crazy. Even I have a little 1 ounce jar of lanolin, and I keep it away from him because I'm afraid it'll smell too much like barn animal for him, and he'll end up attacking me if I just put it on my hands or something. So I make it sound like he's a scary dog. He's a Shih Tzu, and he's a very sweet dog. You just don't want to make him angry. So I am making it. Ooh, I'm making some serious progress today. This is why I like working with a group of people. because I tend to be more productive and less distracted by sounds around me, people around me, pretty butterflies that happen to fly by the window, whatever. I tend to get easily distracted. And so thank you all for being here, because you're making me be far more productive than I would have been otherwise. That is one thing I've also discovered about myself in these very quarantining times, is that if I don't make a plan for things to do throughout the day, I will tend to do a lot of nothing. I was gifted, my birthday was this past weekend, and I was gifted Disney Plus for my birthday. And I discovered that there are 31 seasons of The Simpsons on there. So my productivity dropped pretty quick. It's coming back up now. I'm finding equilibrium, but I've discovered that if I don't make a plan the day before of I'm going to mow the lawn and do this, that, and the other during the day, I will get easily distracted and just do nothing productive. So I do enjoy trying to craft while having other sounds and things like that in the house, whether it's the TV or some of my favorite podcasts, which have gotten me through so many quiet times, I can tell you. And I try and keep a noise level because I feel like it makes me want to move faster. Even if it's a podcast, you want to move at the same pace that they're talking or sharing information. If it's music, of course, you move to the beat. And so sitting here and talking to you guys also seems to be making me a lot more productive. One other thing I've been thinking about lately is that when I learned how to spin, I had a lot of trouble finding a good resource for everything that I needed to understand about spinning. And as a result, I think my initial spins were a lot of piecemealed information, and they weren't as good as they could have been. So I'm trying to think of things that I would have liked to see, and then I'm going to start doing videos on this channel that show different techniques or how to start spinning, kind of like what we talked about earlier with the how to get your roll onto your leader to just get started. And I'm looking for any ideas that you guys out there might have of videos or topics that you think, yeah, there was one or two resources, they were hard to find or they weren't concise. You don't need to out other resources that you didn't like, nothing like that. But just I want to make something very comprehensive for new spinners, because I found it very frustrating to be by myself and trying to learn how to do this and not really understanding the lingo, the language, the art of it yet. I just wanted to be able to say I made yarn. Oh, hi Marla. I'm glad you were able to make it, and don't worry, we still got 27 minutes left, so you've got plenty of time. What are you working on today? I absolutely would love any advice that you guys have, though, because I do think that once we get good at spinning, we tend to forget the frustrations or the difficulties that we went through with learning how to do it. And so it's something I would like to collect as a group of videos or resources of some kind that we could all put together, or I can put together for other people to have, that will allow them to get started. Because I think spinning is so fun, it's so useful and relaxing, and I believe that people would be far more interested if they knew that they had resources to go to for it. So if you have any ideas, drop me a line. I'd love to hear them. I am almost through this piece here, and hopefully I'll get through even more today. I've got a fair amount on the bobbin, and it's spinning pretty thin, which I prefer. I've got here, I'll show you guys. Yeah, the camera angle, I'm sorry, and with the dark clothes and the dark fiber, it's probably harder to see, but let me see if I can get that on to show up. You guys, oh yeah, there it is. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm spinning a little bit thinner, but keep in mind, like I said, this will be Navajo plied, and the Navajo plying will then make it a 3-ply yarn, and it'll be a little bit thicker. Oh, Marla, you're sewing masks for doctors in New York and the local police department. That is awesome. And I had mentioned earlier, and I'll let you know too, I have some hand-dyed fabric here that I am willing to donate to people who are making masks for first responders and that kind of thing. If you just drop me a note in the comments on this video or on Instagram, and I will get some fabric out to you if you would like it. I would love to be able to help with that. And I don't sew myself, so if I can at least give you the supplies so that you can get them sewn and sent out to the people who need them, I'm happy to do that. And I'm sorry, guys, I think I keep looking off to the side instead of looking at the camera, and it must be off-putting, and I apologize. It's because I have the live chat over to the side, and I think I just keep kind of looking there to read. So if it looks like I'm just distracted by blue rocks, I know I said that it happens, but I'm not being distracted while you guys are here, just so you know. So we are almost to the end of this bit here, and then I'll add some more. And I'm hoping to get at least 150 yards out of this, maybe a little bit more. And then I think I will be making adding it to a project for a shawl that I want to make. I am not the best at crocheting shawls, but I've really been excited about weaving lately. In fact, I think that's what I'll be doing on the next video. So on the next, at our next meeting. So I will be incorporating this into a woven shawl that I want to work on. So it won't be the one that I'm going to do at the next video though. That one I'm going to get the work done probably tonight, maybe tomorrow, and then I'll have it ready for the meeting on Monday. So just so you guys know, I think I'm going to keep the times as they are this week because we've had a pretty decent, steady turnout for both meetings. So the first one will be Monday nights at 7 p.m. Second one will be Thursdays at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And 2 a week is a lot. Please don't feel like you have to come to every meeting or sign on every week even. I'm doing 2 a week through the quarantine just because that way as people have time, they can join and enjoy themselves. And then if you don't have time, that's okay too. Once this is over, which I think it will be eventually, these will probably be cut down to about once every other week. But I want to give everyone an opportunity to just take some time and breathe. So that's what we're doing today. That's what we're going to be doing twice a week from now until. So I've got this piece almost, I hate when you get to the ends of some pre-drafted roving that you're working with or whatever, because it seems like that part takes longer than the whole rest of the piece took. And you're just going, oh my gosh, I must be done now. It's so close to the end, but you forget that you may only have an inch there, but it's an inch long, an inch wide, and an inch thick. So it's going to take you a minute to get through. So anyway, tuck that around for a second and get a drink. All right. I am using, so Monday night I was spinning this blue bobbin that I had mentioned at the beginning. And the blue bobbin was printed by my husband on our 3D printer. And I really like using these bobbins because they're slightly bigger than my original Luette bobbins. And so I can really load them up with fiber. And get a lot off of a single spin. The Louette bobbins, or at least the ones that I have, are still pretty big, but they're not as big as those ones. However, since this is going to be a Navajo ply single, I decided to do it on the original Louette bobbin, which I like because it is a little bit quieter. They're solid wood bobbins, and they have the plastic connectors in the center to keep the wood from touching the post on the flyer. And so they're a little bit quieter to spin with, and that should also be better for you guys on video because you won't hear any clunking or squeaking that happens when you get up to speed with a 3D printed bobbin. And I've used a couple different 3D printed bobbins besides the ones that my husband has printed. I've used an Acreworks bobbin, and I really like working with the Acreworks bobbins too, but I find that they tend to have that same issue of just being a little bit noisy until you get up to speed. And then once you're up to speed and you're doing a steady spin, it'll even out. And for whatever reason, that squeaking sound goes away. But it can be a little bit ear-ringing trying to get to that point. They'll tend to do it, except for painting on my wheel. Marla, no, that's not from the bobbin. I'm not sure what that is. It might be the fan that I have on. Unfortunately, I can't turn it off right now because it's really hot in my house, and I don't want to start sweating. But if it is the fan, I apologize, you guys. It does tend to squeak because it's not perfectly balanced, and I hope that's not too annoying for you. Next time, maybe I'll try getting a different fan. I have some stand-up fans that will probably not make it sound like I'm in a wind tunnel and also not be quite so squeaky. So I don't know about you guys when you are spinning. I always like when I do, let me see if I can just tilt this forward and show you. No, that's not going to work. I'll take it off. So when I am starting a spin, I always like to put a fair amount of yarn on the bobbin for that initial pass down. Yeah, there, you can see that. And I've seen some people who do real small, not small, that's not the right word, but they'll just put a little bit on and move up to the next hook and put a little bit on and move up to the next hook. And it ends up, I think theirs probably come out more even at the end, but I like putting that extra chunk on there because it makes me feel like I've gotten through more than if I'm constantly moving my single down the flyer. So now if I had one of those smart bobbins, what are they called? I'm sure somebody out there can tell me. But the ones that will move up and down the flyer, the flyer moves up and down the bobbin automatically, then I wouldn't mind it so much probably because it moves pretty quick. But I do not have one of those yet. It's on my list. What is it called? The name just flew out of my head. This is what happens when I talk too much. See, I'm on my second piece though, so you guys are really helping me get through it. And I'm probably going to, like I said, make this into a shawl. I don't know that I will keep it for myself. I think it might go to my sister, but hopefully she's not on, so she won't know that it's going to her. But I think that's who it's going to go to because I owe her a birthday present. I had this great project I lined up in my head for her that I was going to weave. It was golds and browns and greens, and I was going to do the double cleft weft, which means that you use two different pieces of yarn and they meet in the middle, kind of. So it would have these colors going back and forth, and they were all her favorite colors, and I was so excited. And I took hours warping my loom, And I got started, and it was ugly. Ugly. Like, embarrassingly ugly, I'll be honest. And so she did not get that, and her birthday was in September. And she still hasn't gotten anything, so I think maybe this will go to a shawl or scarf for her, because she deserves a present. She's a pretty decent little sister to have, so. I say that as a joke. I love her. And yeah, I definitely owe her one. And if I just go with a straight basic weave, I probably can't mess it up too much, and then I won't feel bad giving it to her. That other one, I'd have felt bad giving it to her. I ended up pulling the whole thing out and using the warp for something else entirely, because the colors looked really good up until they were put together. And I think that's something that we can all kind of connect with. Even when it comes to crocheting or knitting, you get that same thing where you pick a couple different yarns, you go to put them in a project together, and they look great sitting next to each other on a table, but for some reason, once they are crocheted or knitted together, the colors just don't work anymore. And I don't know how it's possible. The only thing I can come up with is that the yarns that I was using for the weave, and when I've seen this happen in other projects that I've worked on for crochet, they're always semi-solids or variegated yarns. And when you crochet them or knit them up, you lose some of the transitions in the knot that you create. And I guess if you lose the one part that makes all the colors seem to mesh together very well, it makes them clash. It doesn't seem like it's possible, but that must be what it is, because I'll look at colors and I'll think, oh, this is brown and orange or brown and green and gold, and those will look great together. And then I put them on my loom and I'm like, that brown looks orange. The green has way too much yellow in it. And the colors just completely change once they're part of a project. So thankfully, my sister was very understanding with that particular incident. I called her. I said, you remember that project I said I was making for your birthday? Yeah, trust me, you don't want it. And she was very understanding and nice about it, but I still owe her a birthday gift. So maybe she'll get this one sometime around August, and then in September I'll have to figure out another birthday gift for her. Pardon me. I'm sorry. Don't worry, that's just a regular cough. It's not a scary cough. It's just a regular, I had something in my throat kind of cough. So my shirt today, I didn't think about the fact that it's words and the camera was going to show it in reverse. So I apologize about that. But it says nope. And that was kind of my mood when I woke up this morning, just a little bit of nope. So this is my favorite shirt to wear when I kind of feel like, yeah, today is just going to be one of those days. So if you're looking at it going, why is it backwards? Yeah, it's because I didn't think about the fact that words on a camera show up backwards. I will work on that for next time. And, that's another thing, too, to keep in mind. I am doing these so that us fiber people can enjoy time with each other, maybe learn a little bit if that's something that you want to do. And so if there are things, these meetings are for all of us, not just for me to sit up here and talk. If there are things that you would like to see done or techniques that you would like to see demonstrated, please let me know. I'm happy to give it a try. Even if I don't know how to do it, we can learn how to do it together. As long as I have the materials here in the house, because I'm not leaving. And we can make this more than just what it is right now. I just wanted to make sure that we had a place to start from. And so that's where these meetings are. But if there's something you want to see or discuss, please let me know, because I will add that to the plan for future meetings. And there's other projects that I'm going to work on in future meetings. So next week, like I said, I'll be weaving. And then I think the week after that, I'm going to do ribbon weaving. It is a newer craft that I've been working on. I've really enjoyed working on it. It's so fun to do. And it was another situation where I found one very straightforward video to follow. I found one set of instructions online that were really clear at the beginning, and then they just didn't make any sense anymore. Like, it started personifying the ribbon and said he flies under something. It didn't make any sense. And so that's another video that I'm planning to do in the future to show people how to do the ribbon weaving, because it's fun to do. It's fast, so fast. You can do it with materials that you have at home, except for ribbon. That's the only thing that you have to buy if you don't have it. But everything else is just pins. You don't need a loom. You don't need any fancy equipment. And so that's another video that I want to do, and something that I'll probably do in our meetings, because you guys help me be so productive that I can probably get through at least 50% of one in an hour, which would be great, because I have an idea for what I want to do with some of these weavings, and I need to actually finish them in order to be able to do that. So stop that for a second. I'm so sorry I keep stopping, but when I talk this much, I tend to need to drink a lot too. So, here we go. So we had talked, and actually, Marla, I think you were the one that had asked about spinning and plying. And do you go with, how do you ply the yarns together in our meeting on Monday? And so I'm just curious for the spinners out there. When you guys spin, do you refer to the direction you're spinning as clockwise, counterclockwise, or do you refer to the direction you're spinning as S versus Z? Because that is another thing when I am teaching my class of students, I find that when I use the SZ, it tends to get a little bit confusing for them to learn that, to think in that direction, but the clockwise, counterclockwise works really well. And I'm just wondering, am I the only one that feels that way? And does that just make me like just trying not to absorb the language and the lingo? Which I hope that's not the case, but I know me, so it might be the case. And if it is, you can tell me. So I always spin clockwise on my singles and then ply them counterclockwise because it's easier for me to remember. And I haven't seen anything that says that there's any reason why spinning one direction over the other is beneficial for the end of the project, as long as you spin opposite between the single and the plying. So I always just say clockwise and counterclockwise. I think the S and the Z is like when they're a kid, they tell you, oh, to remember your rights and lefts, do this, right? Because the one that's an L is your left. Well, when I was a kid, I'd look at it and I'd say, they're both L's. It doesn't help me at all. And so I had to think of other ways to do it. So it was, oh, well, the side that my watch is on is my left hand. When I got married, I obviously wear my wedding ring on my left hand. And so I remember it as I'm left with my husband forever. And it's become a joke because I'll touch my ring fingers when I have to think of rights and lefts on the fly. I'll touch my ring fingers, but then I always remember which side is right and left because of that, because I'm left with him forever. So with the with spinning, the S and Z is kind of the same thing. Like I look at them and I understand that one is backwards from the other, but it doesn't connect in my head which one is which. So clockwise and counterclockwise makes sense to me. So that's what I use. And I don't think it really matters as long, because even if you're reading instructions for a specific spin, if it says spin S, then spin Z to ply, you just spin one direction and then spin the opposite direction to ply. It doesn't really matter as far as I know. And tell me if I'm wrong, because I've been known to be wrong. I accept it. It's part of who I am, but that's the way I think about it. Okay. So one thing I like about BFL is I tend to find that it has fewer cases of not really slubs per se, but just areas where the fibers will kind of get stuck together and they'll push through your fingers real fast, and then you have to stop and kind of go back a little bit, untwist it, and pull out those fibers to thin it out so it's all even. And I've noticed with BFL, I don't have that problem as much. And I don't really know why that is, because from a standpoint of just the stats of BFL versus Merino or Rambouillet or any of them, they're not that much difference. You get a little bit of a difference in staple length. You might get 1 or 2 micron size difference in the width of the fibers, but not anything significant. And so I don't know what it is about BFL, but I love spinning it because it doesn't seem to get those clumps of fibers. And I say that they're not slubs because you can still break them up. You just have to take the time to do it. And BFL just doesn't seem to get that the same way that other fibers do. I don't know why, but I do love spinning it because of that. Oh, so A said that she's heard that S versus Z ply can make a difference depending on what craft you use or what hand you knit with. And e.g. continental versus English style knitting will untwist yarn differently. Oh, well, that's really interesting. See, I don't knit, and so I had never heard that before. But now you're giving me all kinds of stuff I got to look up today, eh? I got to look up lace fences, and I got to look up now how plying determines how you knit. She also said that she has to look up SZ clockwise, counterclockwise when she's looking at the yarn. It just hasn't stuck in her head. See, I have the same thing. So I just do, I don't know. I should probably learn more about it because now I'm really curious for knitting how that would affect. Now I could see hand, like for spinning, if you're right-handed or left-handed, I could see that affecting how you would start. But null binding. Okay, I'm looking it up. I'm going to find out about this, and you can ask me at our next meeting, and I will have an answer for you on that one because I'm so curious, and I promise I will do my homework and figure that out. That's really interesting that there is areas where it would apply differently. I've never really thought about it as making that much of a difference to the end product, but clearly there are things out there where it does. So thank you very much. That's good to know. And I'll know more once I do more research. I am hoping, we've only got about a minute or 2 left, so I'll make this quick. But I am hoping that you guys will keep coming to our meetings. I do really, really enjoy spending time with everybody. You can tell I love to talk, but if anyone has something that they want to share, drop it in the group chat and we'll make sure everybody hears about it. And also don't forget, if you are sewing masks, Marla, I know you said you are, please let me know and drop me a message because I will get fabric to you, and I will do, if people respond today, I will be able to take it to the post office tomorrow to get to you. So anything that I can do to help in that situation, I'm glad to do. Unfortunately, this is all I can do to help because this is all the yarn or all the fabric that I own. And so if I can share it with you, please let me know because we all want to do our part. So with that being said, I think we are just about done for today. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you had fun. I hope you got plenty done on your crafts. Marla, I hope you got through a few of those masks and were able to get them finished. And please come back where we will meet again Monday at 7 p.m. and next Thursday at 1 p.m. So anytime either time that you want to come, whatever works better for you. And we'll just keep doing this until we can all get back to our own fiber groups and things like that. And then from there, we'll figure out what else we are going to do. So, oh, and it's also, okay, null binding, needle binding, or single needle knitting. So if anyone else wants to look that up besides just me, make sure that you have all of that. So needle binding, single needle knitting, single needle knitting, or null binding, N-A-A-L, null binding. So I will be looking that up. I'm sure you guys will be looking it up too, because it just sounds interesting to me now. And yet another fiber project or craft that I have never heard of or tried. So maybe that'll be an upcoming week of videos, because I just keep finding new things to try with fiber. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for joining. I'm going to go ahead and end here. If I can find my mouse, there we go. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at Spin and Die in Texas if you want to get notified of meetings. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for the same reason. And then if you finish projects that you've been working on as part of our group and you want to share them with the rest of the group, you can tag me on Instagram, and I'll make sure that they stay up for everyone to see. And then if we keep doing this and our group gets a little bit bigger, maybe we will just start our own Instagram page where we can share things like that with each other. So all of that will be coming down the pipe, and you guys have a great weekend. And I know how you feel. I'm in that same boat where I wish I could help with that, but we all got to do what we can. So hopefully there'll be other ways that we can help as things move along and hopefully improve as well. So have a great weekend. Have a great week if I don't see you guys till Thursday. And thank you again for joining.